Garden School Foundation was founded in 2005 by a coalition of neighbors, administrators, and community members with the 24th Street Elementary community. They were going to repave the blacktop in the back of the school, but decided that they could do something more that would bring more focus to the school and a different opportunity for the students who live in that area. So they ended up paving or beating the asphalt, which is why our logo is a beat, and unpaved 1.5 acres of that space. That was really the foundation of Garden School Foundation. Our core educational program is our Seed to Table program, which we implement in our 10 partner schools across the city. That means students come out to the garden twice a month during their regular school days for 2-hour-long lessons. The first hour-long lesson is for a garden-based science lesson. So anything that you could be learning in your science class. We also do a lot of social emotional learning, recognizing how much support our students need in that way. So all of our lessons start with a mindfulness activity, breath work, and then all of our lessons end with 5 minutes of unstructured garden time where kids are just left to their own adventures in the garden.
We just incorporate more activities, and so instead of just having us sit down and talk, there are a lot of opportunities for us to look around the garden, find an insect, and a lot more opportunities for them to move their bodies and interact with their surroundings. I think there's definitely a shift from when they're sitting down to moving around in the garden. For the most part, they're sitting down all day in classroom, and so I definitely see them eager to move around. And I think it's, part of it is just them being kids and constantly wanting to get that energy out, but also it's them being curious. They hear their classmates say, "Look, it's a butterfly," and then they all run over. And so it's also just an opportunity for them to get that excitement out. Some of the impacts we see in our students with our programming is that students are really getting a lot more courage in these kind of spaces. I grew up in LA, and I know there's not as much opportunities for you to find green spaces. And so I really see it in my students that they feel confident when they see a spider or a bug. Specifically in some students, they don't feel comfortable even walking in. And so, through the progression of our classes, I think they're really gaining confidence in their abilities and also just being comfortable in these kind of spaces. I think my experience with Garden School Foundation has really shown me that education is truly the key to just showing students that sustainability is possible in their lives. We teach it in very small ways in our classes. As simple as in our cooking classes, we teach our students, look at the food that you have, can we compost this? And even with our other programs, we're really teaching them about composting and reducing our food waste.
We now have a cafeteria to compost program, which is a really innovative program. There isn't another program like it in the country, where we are in cafeterias daily with students diverting food from the landfill. We started as a pilot program, trying to figure out how much food waste was out there and what small organizations could do to help combat that. And once we realized that we were diverting over 1,000 pounds of food from the landfill every month just at 24th Street, we couldn't in good consciousness stop doing that. There really is no one else like us doing it in this impactful of a way.
We are trying to expand our cafeteria to compost program. I'm not sure if you've ever been in the cafeteria in an elementary school, but there's a lot of, students take one bite out of their apple and then throw the rest of it away. And so it's a lot of food waste happening. We're reminding students that they can compost things that they don't finish. So all the apples, the carrots that they don't finish, we remind them to put it in the compost bins. We've also implemented share tables at those schools, and so it's also an opportunity for students to get more food if they'd like.
Today we made a community mural, a collaborative mural for this area that is going to be the composting area for this school. So we we take all of the leftovers from school lunches and compost them and then feed that compost into the garden. This mural is here to inspire and remind people what composting is all about.
So our farmers markets are a really wonderful way that we hit the food access part of our mission. So we partner with Food Forward to distribute 2,000 pounds of produce. Our partnership with Angel City is really vital in that because they are the ones who help us pick up the 2,000 pounds of produce in Bell and transport it to our schools. Our three main pillars are food justice and food access is one. The next is impacting folks with environmental stewardship. And then the third is raising community health. And so the fact that this is rescued food kind of hits that environmental stewardship aspect. Our volunteers know that, our staff knows that, we communicate that to the school communities. And then just in food access, food justice, we're providing food for people. A lot of people focus on like what is deemed quote unquote healthy, but for nutrition, but really for us, nutrition is about getting food in people's bellies. And so this is giving folks that access. And then raising community health, same thing, getting more food in people's bellies, more fresh produce available for folks really hits that as well. The community loves the farmers markets. They're something that they really have latched onto and appreciate. And also on our end, it's the most unique way that we get to interact with the most diverse and large cohort of the community. And so this just broadens our reach and also to just more familiar faces on campus. I think the more folks can recognize us, the better. Volunteers are a very vital part of GSF in general. Our community garden days are with volunteers. We can have up to 70, 80 volunteers show up at one of those events. And really it's the support we need to keep our gardens looking the way they do.
Community events and partnerships play a huge role. They connect our larger community outside of the student and staff community to our garden. So it gets the word out and helps funnel volunteers to maintain this garden, which requires a lot of people power. And sometimes we need more than student hands working in the garden, we need adult and skilled hands. So community partnerships and events help bring that sort of skill set to the garden. They also provide a lot of monetary funds to help with our programs and being able to just have supplies and really make sure the students are getting the most out of the program. One of the main ways we see it is that students are less picky eaters. They're more curious about fruits and vegetables. They're more curious about being in the outdoors. Teachers say that garden education helps them connect more with different parts of their world. There's a lot of social emotional learning that comes in the garden, especially for students who are in an urban setting. It can be very beneficial for their mental and emotional health to be in a green space and not spend their entire day in a concrete jungle that is the school. There's also a lot of personal learning that happens. Students are able to explore using their senses, and students love just having the opportunity to learn about science in a more personal and student-led way, really. I think it's really important that young minds are inspired to take care of their environment and inspired by green spaces so that they can become environmental stewards and become sustainable people and practice being environmentally friendly for the future.
Like any small nonprofit has had some bumps along the road. I would say our biggest bump is around funding. So we historically were primarily grant funded. We had one large individual donor who had supported that expansion. Unfortunately, that donor moved away from LA and then took their funding with them. And at that point, we really realized that our funding model was not sustainable. Our partner schools only paid $5,000 to buy in, right, to contribute something, but that is just a small fraction of what our programming actually costs.
have a wide variety of opportunities for volunteers. If you'd like to volunteer just for a day, just for a couple of hours, we have community garden days. If you are interested and you have the time, we do have an internship program that people can apply for. It's a great way for them to get more experience in this kind of space and this kind of career. And we do open up our school sites to the communities on our community garden days. And so if anyone is interested in seeing what these spaces look like, they can always come and volunteer on those dates. I think my favorite memory of the garden is with my kindergartners. Every year I make a point of planting rainbow carrots with them. And the reason why it's my favorite is because a lot of the times our students don't know what our food looks like when it's growing. You know, it's attached to a plant, or with carrots specifically, it grows underground. So throughout our garden classes, they see the tops of the carrots growing, but they don't see the bottom. And so when we finally get to harvest them, it's always such a huge celebration. They're shouting, they're screaming, their amazement of just being able to pull the carrot out, and it's a beautiful purple carrot or an orange carrot, and it's something that is completely new to them. And so it's always my favorite moment with my students.